Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on marketing management, and we are going to extend our discussion on the topic of promotion mix, and wherein we have been discussing about how to make our marketing communication more effective, how to make our promotions really work for our own set of goals or objectives. So continuing our discussion, we have been talking about how to go for deciding the advertising budget, and that is something which is really very crucial, and there we had discussed about the different commonly resorted to methods for deciding our own communication budget. So there we discussed about the affordable method, the percentage of sales method, the competitive parity method, and the objective and task method. So it was briefly explained to you in the previous lecture of mine, and now I'll discuss all these methods with you in great detail. I'll tell you that what is there into the affordable method. As the term itself is indicating, it is talking about affordability. So some companies, they set their communication budget at what they think they can afford. So they decide that yes, we can't afford more than this, and based on that they decide their own communication budget. So the affordable method completely ignores the role of marketing communications as an investment and their immediate impact on sales volume. So this becomes a limitation of this method, that you are completely ignoring the role and the power of marketing communication, with which you can actually reap immense benefits. So in a way you are compromising with the potential benefits which you can have by the way of your marketing communications, by the way of your effective marketing communication. So it is a kind of loss of opportunity if you solely rely on this method and decide the limitations of your communication budget by simply confining yourself to the walls of affordability, that yes, I can't afford more than this no matter what benefit it is going to provide me. So without investment, how can you expect the return from your marketing communication? So this is one of the limitations of this method, and it leads to an uncertain annual budget, which makes long range planning difficult. And that is why most of the companies nowadays, they don't talk about affordability, because they believe that if we really wish to achieve what we are willing to, what we have planned to, then of course we'll have to change our direction, we'll have to change our way of thinking. So they all understand, if you'll keep on doing what your predecessors have been doing, you'll keep on getting what they have been getting. So if you want to go a step ahead, you want to provide some result oriented programs, or you are willing to present before the company a result oriented advertising plan, then of course the affordability is something which is going to be a limitation for you. So this is one of the most traditional or conservative method, which previously some companies were resorting to, and today also some small companies, they are resorting to this method. But this has some limitations which we have just discussed, that those limitations are there with this method. But some small companies, they are still resorting to this method, we can't deny to that. The second method here is the percentage of sales method, and it is at times we find it in the newspapers also, in the media publications also, that this company is spending this percentage of their sales on advertising. So some companies, they are setting their communication expenditure at a specified percentage of current or whatever anticipation with regard to sales they had made. So they decide that this is going to be my anticipated sales, and I will be spending say 10% or 15% of my sales on advertising. So they decide that. So these companies, they are setting their communication expenditures at a percentage of sales, and they decide, and that is why we call it percentage of sales method. If you look at the automobile company, they typically budget a fixed percentage based on the planned car price. Whatever price they decide, based on that they set a percentage that yes, we will be spending this much of money on advertisement. So for them it is since it is a durable product, and they all understand that this is the price which they are going to charge. So they decide, they set a percentage of that car price as advertising budget, and accordingly they are spending. So this method has a little to justify it. They have very little to justify it, because it is in one way or the other, it is following the same, the affordability quotient, wherein you are having that limitation of affordability, and you deny to the robust investment which at times you may plan or you may need to provide a boost to your brand. So, whatever brand you are actually promoting, to promote that at times we need huge amount of expenditure, and if you are actually confining yourself to affordability or percentage of sales, then of course that is going to limit your expenditure. This method actually it actually views sales are the determiner of communications rather than the outcome of that, because this method thinks that if my sales are actually increasing, then of course that is a determinant of communication, that yes, we had communicated. So, we should not consider it to be the result of the advertisement plan. So, this is what they actually propose for, because they feel that sales is the determinant of communication. Based on sales we will be communicating. If we do not have sales, from where to communicate, wherein it is other way around nowadays. If you communicate, then your sales will actually go up. That is also a way of defending that, and this method leads to a budget set by the availability of funds rather than by market opportunities. So, again it is regarded as one of the traditional methods, and there is a one more limitation to this method, because it actually discourages experimentation with the counter cyclical communication, or what you call as aggressive spending. If you look at some of the companies in the initial stage of their brand positioning, they actually spend huge amount on advertising, and the benefit is there in front of us when with those expenditures, because it is actually the need of that brand. If you really wish that your brand should be positioned properly, people should know about your brand. If you take name of any new brand, at the initial stage of their positioning, they must have spent huge amount on advertising, because that is called aggressive spending which they have to make. So, dependence on Y, what you call as year to year sales fluctuations, actually that interferes with long range planning. If we decide that yes, I will be spending some percentage of my sales as advertisement expenditure, then of course, if your sale differs, your advertising plan will also differ. So, you can't have a long range planning for your advertising if you confine yourself to this method. So, this is one of the limitation of this method. That is why it can be considered as deciding a base for your advertisement expenditure, but of course you can't use this method as a sole method of deciding your advertising budget. So, marketers nowadays, they keep in mind the percentage of sales method, they keep in mind the affordability, but they always look at the competitive parity, what my competitors are doing. We should never look less than what our competitors are. We should never try to position ourselves as a less paying company, or as a company which is which fails in communicating about its brand, about its features, about its presence, about its services. So, some companies, they set their communication budgets to achieve share of voice parity with competitors, because they understand that unless we also go with the same rigor and vigor, people will not recall us, people will not remember us. So, this approach does have some limitations. I will not say that competitive parity method is the right method, because if we look at the competitive parity, there might be a possibility that your brand is comparatively older one, people know it and people are buying it, buying our brand properly. We have occupied a significant share in the market, then we can't put ourselves with those competitors who are new in the market, who has actually positioned just now, who has just entered in the market, and they are spending aggressively on advertising. So, at that point of time, we should not follow this competitive parity method. So, this method should also be adopted with some logic, with some rationality, and there has to be some bounded rationality also when we are implementing such kind of methods. So, there are no grounds for believing that competitors always know better. They might be having their own calculations. So, we should always try to be logical result oriented, and at the same time we should not forget our affordability and percentage of sales method, which are there in the back of our mind to limit ourselves. They are actually there as a brake for our speed, which may take up in order to position our brand with more rigor and vigor, for which we are already prepared and we had already planned. So, competitive parity method actually believes that company reputation, resources, opportunities and objectives, they differ so much that the communication budgets are hardly a guide. You can't believe that this communication budget is going to be a guide for us when we compare our competitors, because our resources, our reputation, our opportunities and objectives, they are different from that of our competitors. So, how can be our budget be the same? So, there is no evidence that budgets based on competitive parity discourage communication wars. There is no evidence, there is no research behind this, that if we are going as per this competitive parity method, there will not be any communication war. Any time or every time it can be there. So, we should not forget our own limitations while deciding our advertising budget. The next is objective and task method. If you ask me, I find this method to be more submissive and more balanced. It can be called as an optimum method, and after understanding this method you would also believe the same, that there is an objective and task method. Having said objective and task, it is looking at both the things. It is regarded as a most defensive approach, the objective and task method, and it actually calls upon marketers to do something. And what is that something? They want marketers to develop communication budgets by defining specific objectives. If you are our communication planner, you are our media planner, or you are the responsible person for the promotions, then of course as a marketer I would ask you that you have to develop your communication budgets by defining specific objectives. What is your specific objective when you are going to decide this much of budget for your advertising campaign over a period of time, say 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever you have decided, we need specific objective. So, your goals need to be SMART. Having said SMART, I mean to indicate towards the acronym SMART. That means your goal need to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic and time bound. So, whatever you are saying, that goal should be SMART, that objective need to be SMART. It should have specific objective, and you should identify the task that must be performed to achieve these objectives and estimate the cost of performing them. So, you have to first decide your objective, and in order to achieve those objectives, what are the tasks which you are supposed to perform. Both the things you are supposed to decide, and then only you can tell me that yes, in order to perform this task, this much of cost is supposed to be incurred by this company. That is quite justifiable, because nobody is going to say no to that, because once your objectives are specific, they are clear, and you have decided that to achieve those objectives I have identified the task which must be performed, and we also know the cost of performing those tasks. So, there is no hurdle in understanding that what should be the cost of this advertising campaign. So, the sum total of, or the aggregation of all these costs which are supposed to be involved in performing these tasks which you have identified, is actually the proposed communication budget which a marketer will tell us. So, it is quite objective in nature, anybody or everybody can verify. You give me the objective, you give me the identified task, I will tell you the cost. So, there can be a very minor difference, but yes, the proposed communication budget can easily be decided, and that is why nowadays marketers are resorting to this method only. There is a trade off, of course. We all understand that higher the advertisement expenditure is, the more is the news or the information about the product or brand in the market. So, how much weight should marketing communication receive as compared to the alternatives, for instance the product improvement, lower prices or better services? That is also a big question in front of marketers, because at times they believe that in place of spending huge amount on advertising, why don't we go for improvising the product? Why don't we start offering better services? So, if we decide this kind of trade off, there is a question. where comes the positioning of our communication budget? You have decided that yes, I am going to spend this much of money on advertising, but marketers at times pose this challenge also in front of us, that what about the product improvement, what about the passing on the benefit to the customers, that let us tell the customers that yes, we are going to reduce the price, we won't be spending a huge amount on advertising, let's pass on the benefit to the customers, reduce the price of the product, or start offering better services. That can also be a challenge which is put in front of communication people, or people who are shouldering the responsibility of marketing communications. So the answer here to this question depends on where the company's products are in their life cycles, at what stage your product is, whether they are commodities or highly differentiable products, or they are routinely needed or must be sold, and there are other considerations. So depending on the type of product, the nature of the product, the kind of market you are going to deal with, you would decide the answer to this question. If your product is, of course, if it is of that nature that it is routinely needed or must be sold, then of course you can think of going for spending lesser amount on advertising and working on product improvisation or lowering the prices, offering the better services. That can also be a consideration. So my dear learners, there is always a communication budget trade-off, what you call as trade-offs, and there you have to understand that your communication budget should not be as high that marketers start thinking about spending amount on R&D and making more amount on research and development. We don't deny to the relevance of research and development. Then of course marketers may think of improvising the product or lowering the prices, that what if I reduce the price as compared to what my competitors are charging, because customers in any case are going to evaluate the product on the basis of its quality price matrix, that yes, quality price positioning is this. So if I am getting the same quality at a lower price, what is the point of buying another product which is offering me, which is charging me higher for the same quality? So marketing communication budgets, if you look at based on the researches which are there in front of us, if I have to generalize, I would say marketing communication budgets tends to be higher in certain cases. What are those cases? Where there is low channel support. If your channel is not supportive, if your channels of distribution is not that robust, then of course you will have to spend, you will have to shell out huge amount on account of advertising. Reason is your channel is not that robust which can disseminate, which can actually ensure the availability of the product to in the market to all the customers. They won't be able to ensure the presence of your product in the market in a significant manner. So if your channel support is weak, then of course you will have to spend huge amount on marketing communication. The second is, if your marketing program changes greatly over time, if you are making significant changes in your marketing programs, every time you are changing it significantly, then of course your marketing communication budget is supposed to be on the higher side. The third situation is when many customers are hard to reach. If you are dealing with the product or the market segment where reaching the customer is very hard or very tough or very difficult, then of course you will have to spend huge amount on your communication budgets. There can also be a situation where your customer decision making is very complex. You are dealing with the product where the decision making by the customer is one of the most complex activity, or your products are differentiated and customers needs are what you call as heterogeneous, or that is also called as non-homogeneous nowadays, then of course you will have to spend money on your marketing communication budgets on a higher side. If the purchases are frequent in small quantities, now we have to understand that purchases are frequent but the quantity is small. Buyers are buying frequently but in very small quantities. There too you will have to spend huge amount on marketing communication budgets. The reason is because every time marketer may witness, marketer may consider the new advertisements coming in front of them, the new motivations coming in front of them, the new persuasions or reminders coming in front of them. And it actually happens in case of mostly in case of FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, or even in white goods you would find to some extent that the purchases are frequent but in small quantities, and to ensure your presence in the market, your marketing communication budgets is supposed to be on the higher side. Now, having decided your advertising budget, although that is one of the most difficult tasks which a marketer is shouldered with, because it is really very difficult to decide that how much money to be spent, and meanwhile having that responsibility that your performance would be evaluated. The next step is selecting the marketing communication mix. So, companies, they must allocate their marketing communication budget over the 8 major modes of communication we all understand. If you remember the first very lecture of mine on promotion mix, I told you about the marketing communication mix, and there we talked about the major modes of communication, that there are 8 major modes of communication. I won't say that only 8 modes are there, but these 8 modes are the most common one, or you can say that these are called as the major ones. So, if you want me to name them again, I would quickly name them, that it is advertising, it is sales promotion, it is events and experiences, it is public relations and publicity, it is online social media, use of online and social media marketing, it is mobile marketing, it is direct and database marketing, and also the sales force, that is called the personal selling. So, these are the significant modes of communication in the area of marketing we all understand. Now, some of the students ask me this question, that sir, how to select the marketing communication mix? You have decided the channel, you have decided the media, you have set the budget for yourself, but how to select the marketing communication mix? Shall we go for advertising only, or we should resort to personal selling only, or there has to be a combination? Answer is combination. I will tell you which mode of marketing communication is relevant for what purpose, because each of them, they are playing a different role, but they all are leading to the achievement of same goal, that is your ultimate goal, profit through customer satisfaction. So, we can't deny to their relevance, each one of them are equally relevant. In one way or the other, they are contributing to the attainment of same goals for which we are all are working. So, it is their objective is their efforts can be unified in terms of achievement of goals. So, within the same industry, companies, they may differ considerably in their media and channel choices. So, I can't say that if you are in FMCG you would use this, if you are in durable category you will use this, or if you are in dealing with white goods, then your way of deciding the communication mix would be different. So, because I can give you an example of cosmetic industries, wherein if you look at Avon, Avon concentrates its promotional funds on personal selling, whereas Revlon, if you look, they are spending heavily on advertising. So, this is based on a research, this is based on the data which is available with us, that these two companies dealing with the same product, dealing with in the same segment and same geographical zone, they are differing in their own strategies. Electrolux, if we look at the Electrolux as a company, it spent heavily on personal sales force management, that is door to door sales force for years, whereas Hoover, it relied more on advertising. So, we can't provide you a one size fit all approach that yes, this is the method you can resort to and you are this is going to be a successful one. So, companies are always searching for ways to gain efficiency by substituting one communication tool for others, and many are replacing some field sales activity with ads, direct mail and telemarketing. There are a number of examples or instances in front of us. There is a very popular information, or what we call as news in the field of marketing communication, that one leading auto dealer, it dismissed their 5 sales people and cut prices and sales exploded. So, it came as a news that auto dealer thought of dismissing those 5 salespeople who were working at their shop and reduce the prices, that whatever money I am giving to them on account of their salary or incentives, let's pass it on to the customers and reduce the prices. And the outcome was surprising or amazing. It was there was a great spurt to the sales exploded. So that can also be I am not saying that all auto dealers should dismiss their sales staff, no, but there is a story behind that, that at times when your sales people are not working, then of course there was a question on their existence, that why do they exist. So we have to understand, my dear learners, about substitutability, that whether they are whether we can substitute them or not. So among communication tools, we have to explain why marketing functions need to be coordinated. So we have to understand the characteristics of these communication mix. Before I go for saying that yes, we should resort to advertising only, I should understand what role does this advertising plays in the market. So each communication tool has its own unique characteristics and cost. Advertising reaches geographically dispersed buyers, so you can you can spread your information across a broader area without any geographical boundary. It can build up a long term image for a product, or it can trigger quick sales. For instance, if we talk about in Indian scenario, Smart Bazaar ad for a weekend sale, so they are triggering a quick sales, that yes, certain forms of advertising, for instance TV, can require a large budget, whereas other forms, for instance newspaper, do not require that much of cost. So if you ask me about the logics in support of advertising, I would say it is pervasive in nature. It is there is an amplified expressiveness into this, and there is a control. Advertiser can choose the aspects of brand and product on which to focus communications. So while determining the role of the mix of these channels, we have to understand that what are the logics in support of this specific mode of communication, and accordingly we can decide our communication mix, and eventually we have to talk about integrated marketing communications. So with this, my dear learners, I tried to explain to you all about the steps involved in deciding your effective communication, or making your communication making your communication very effective. So with this, I hope you must have understood this very topic of promotion mix, which we had discussed in great detail. Thank you so much.